my friends, if you would get your journal page ready, it's going to be page 16, and write properties of addition as your title. If you need to pause this video, do that now to get your page ready. All right, guys, well, we are going to talk about addition today, and some of the things that we're going to talk about are really just ways to use numbers flexibly and use those properties. Things that our properties are like rules, things that happen all the time when you're talking about addition. And so when we are going into next week 3-digit addition, these things are going to be very valuable for you to know and to make sure that you understand. So there are 3 properties that we're going to talk about today that are always things that happen when you add, okay? So one of the things that we want to talk about is the commutative property. C-O-M-M-U-T-A-T-I-V-E property. This is one that you've actually already used, you just never called it that. And technically right now, I don't really care if you know the name of it. I just want you to understand it and how it's used. We use it already when we played a review game a couple of weeks ago, and some other things. So I know that you know this rule, but it's just making sure you remember it, or making sure you remember that it's always an option. To commute means to go back and forth, and that means that I can do something like 7 plus 5, and that equals the same thing if I turn it around, 5 plus 7. You might have called it a turnaround fact before, but those are equal because 7 plus 5 is 12, and so is 5 plus 7. So turning that fact around, it's going to always give me the same answer. The other property that we are going to talk about is called the identity property, I-D-E-N-T-I-T-Y. And if you need to pause and write it, or rewind and write this, if it's going too fast, make sure you do that. Make sure you're writing on the lines like me so you can go back to this and it's very useful for you. The identity property is also sometimes called the zero property for addition. And that means that anytime I take a number and I add 0, I'm always going to get that same number. So if I have 5, and I add 0, I'm always going to end up with 5. Guys, when I'm talking about your identity, that's who you are. Well, that number is 5. Its identity is 5. And if I add 0 to it, that 5 does not change. So anytime I add 0, I'm just going to get the same number. That's one you've known for a long time. Okay? The last one is called the associative property. Associative property. And these are all the properties of addition. We'll be using them again when we do multiplication. But the associative property of addition, an associate is like a friend, guys. It's someone you hang out with, right? So sometimes we have to add 3 numbers, and you've seen that before, where we're going to add 3 plus 4 plus 5. Well, I cannot do that all at one time. I have to start with 3 plus 4, and I get 3 plus 4, and it gives me 7, and then I add 5 more. And that works out to 12. Well, guys, the associative property tells me it doesn't matter which ones you group together with addition. So if I did 3 plus 4 plus 5, but I decided to do 4 plus 5 first, if I add that together, that's 9. And then add the 3, I'm still going to get 12. Okay? So it doesn't matter how I group them, what friend I put them with, I'm still going to get that same answer. Okay, so that is just a very brief and very numerical lesson on how these work.